Hi, thank you for your question. No, Eli is not my son's biological father. My son's biological father is dead, and I am so glad. And I know that might be harsh to say, but it is the truth. Some people, they just live their lives hurting other people, and they don't deserve to be here. When I say that, I still get like a tinge of like anxiety and like, fear. But I also made a promise to myself that I would not let fear stop me from talking about this because I really think it's so important. So just as a forewarning, if anyone didn't gather yet, I am going to use this comment to talk about, some of the issues I faced while in a very toxic relationship. And then, of course, the nice, wholesome part, when I met my now husband and what a great dad he is. I have over 1 million followers across platforms, and the majority of my followers are women, so I know that this will reach somebody who needs to hear it. I also just want to do this one disclaimer because it will come up. No, I did not transition because of the situation with my kid's dad. I've gotten comments in the past where people talk about how like trans people, they just transition because they're traumatized. First of all, that is true. Most trans people have dealt with trauma. However, it's usually done by the hands of cis people, and a lot of the time it's because they're trans. So it's ironic. Now that that's out of the way, here we go. I got pregnant when I was 22 years old. I was in absolutely no spot to get pregnant. I was not healthy. I was not sober. I had a raging ED. So obviously, like, my actions at the time were very self-serving and not rational in the least. My son's father had just got done serving, like, I think it was a 10-year bid in prison. So, both of us weren't parent material, you know what I mean? I am now, but at the time, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The relationship was toxic from the jump. Not just because of him though, but me as well. In the beginning, I was also abusive, which keep this in mind for later. I would do things like, scratch him, slap him, granted he was like 300 fucking pounds and I was like a 00, but still not right, still illegal, and I shouldn't have done it. But like I said, just keep that in mind. To be honest, at that time, my son's father really wasn't physical at all. I mean, there were warning signs, but as far as like physical stuff, it really wasn't present then. The other warning signs, he was very possessive. He didn't want me wearing certain things. I had very low self-esteem, so I took this as a good thing. I thought, wow, he cares so much about me that he's so scared to lose me. He's so scared of other men looking at me. Not only does that show that he wants me so bad, but it also shows that I'm desirable to other men too. I must look really good. I must be pretty. So I felt like that was very validating, honestly. As time went on, like, I couldn't do anything on my own. Like, he wanted to go everywhere with me. Like, even when, like, my mom and aunt would want to go out to eat, like, he'd want to be there too. And I could tell they thought it was kind of awkward. Like, it was supposed to be, like, sort of like a girl's, like, lunch out or whatever. And I had to have him tag along. Like, it was a little weird. It wasn't until I got pregnant that stuff got really, really bad. Which even at that time I found very peculiar. I thought, isn't that funny? Now that I'm in a condition where he knows I won't fight back, all of a sudden he's overpowering. He is getting physical. Like, what a complete bully. And that's how he was. He had a pattern of going after people, even, after I was long gone out of the relationship, of going after people that were more vulnerable than him. The first thing he ever did was throw a pack of cigarettes at my face. And afterwards, he literally tried to make me believe that it didn't happen. Like, he gaslit me so bad. Like, he was trying so hard to make me believe, like, no, you just imagine that. Like, first it was, I didn't throw it at all. I threw it across the room, not even near you. Okay, I threw it and it accidentally hit your face, And from that point on, it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. The incidents became more severe, more severe. One thing that I really want to stress, and I have to be careful about how I word it on here, if a man has ever tried to, restrict you from breathing, if I can say it that way, I don't know. There is an insanely high chance that they will off you. The first incident where the police were involved, that is what happened. He was taken to jail but let off on like, what, a $40 to $60 bail. And I went back, and it wasn't the last time I went back. Each time I went back, there was a different promise. I'll go to therapy, I'll go on medication, I'll get completely sober, we can move to a new town. And things would get better, of course, for maybe, I don't know, like a week or two, and boom, right back to normal, but they were worse. Because he knew he could get away with more now. A lot of people wonder why women go back to these situations over and over again. I can only speak for myself, but I'll tell you. Number one, I was scared. People like him know how to abuse the legal system, and you might think that sounds crazy. He served time in prison. That's how he knows. They're very charismatic with law enforcement and things like that. They know exactly what to say to evade any trouble. I was terrified of going to court and, like, what if I lost custody of my son? I mean, there's power in numbers. He had a huge family. With me, it was just me and my parents. He would always threaten that if I tried to take custody, then he would get a bunch of people to say that, like, I was abusive to him so that he could obtain custody. And also, I knew the drill by by now. I press charges, so I go get a restraining order. First of all, he'd be out on bail the same night. I'd have to just sit around and worry like I always did. Second of all, a restraining order, I'm sorry, but to me that's laughable. I'm not saying anyone in this situation shouldn't get one, but people like him don't respect restraining orders. Another reason I went back, a lot of people don't like to talk about this, but the abuse cycle can be very, thrilling, captivating. The toxicity of it can sometimes, in a way, be, addicting. I knew that if I left him and I came home, I was going to have to completely straighten my life out, which I eventually did, and I should have done sooner. But to be honest, it sounded boring. Yes, it sounded safe, but also very boring. Obviously, we can realize my priorities were lacking at the time. Another reason I didn't leave was guilt. Remember how I told you that back in the day when we first got together, I was a little bit abusive towards him? Well, I would think to myself, I changed, I did what I was supposed to, after I had my son, I made an effort to change, and I did it, I succeeded. I think if I could do it, he can do it. He has the capability of doing it because I was able to. So I would feel indebted because, I wasn't the perfect partner at times and I was able to, get my shit together. And I thought I should see him through to ensure that he can too. Newsflash, they never do. They never do. So when I decided to leave, I had to be very strategic about it. I started slowly moving important documents, especially ones that had my son's social security number on it or mine. I know he probably could have easily gotten that information, since we were together for so long and he was his biological father, but I was terrified he would run my kid's credit into the ground. That was one of my biggest fears. When he would ask me what are you doing? I'd say, oh my god, I'm just decluttering. There's so much stuff here, and it would just be papers and stuff. It's he didn't suspect that I was gonna up and leave or anything. And the day I left, it was one of the most severe incidences. I wasn't able to leave the house. He trapped me in the house. He stood in front of the door. He had his family stand in front of the window, so I couldn't leave. Finally, I saw a break for it. I knew from the past a tactic to get past him in situations like this would be to pretend I wanted to work it out. So I'd say, let's talk about this. Let's just talk about this. And I'd see his body relax, and I knew, boom, then I can dart. And that's what I did. I literally darted, stole somebody's cell phone, called 911. That was when I officially left. I never lived with him again after that. I did go back for a day after, then went back to my house, and I was like, nah, I made the right decision, and I closed that chapter. To be real, if I had it my way, I would not have allowed my son to have a relationship with his father. By the time he passed away, he had 7 legal victims. That's just legal victims that he actually got convicted of. And they're violent crimes. It's not just oh, he stole Cheetos or something, Like I said, some people just hurt people, and I don't want people like that around my child. Unfortunately, it literally got to the point where I was facing 11 contempts in court because I would not allow my son to see him. Because what he would do is every day he had an assigned supervised visit. If I said, no, I'm not handing over my son, he would go to the police station, he would write a report, and then he would go to the courts and file a motion, attach the report. There were 11 of them. I was facing jail time. So my option was just give in and allow him to see him under a court's order, or, face the possibility of getting jail time myself, and then my son will have no stable parent. It was a shitty situation, but I did what I had to do. For a while, honestly, as far as the situation goes, it seemed like he was getting his life together a little bit. He was supposedly working, he had met somebody, and I really tried to maintain a very cordial relationship with him, which was very hard, but I did because I wanted to ensure that if anything happened with my son, then he felt like he could tell me, or if he needed me to come get my son, then he would do that, which he did a lot. Then I ended up, this is gonna be a long ass video, I'm sorry. I seen that you can make over 30-minute videos now. It's over. So I started transitioning, by the way, when my son was 3 years old. So he's older now. He doesn't even remember back then. And I started talking to my husband when my son was about 4 years old, but it was mainly online. It was long distance, it wasn't we were dating in person. He was far away. But after talking a year online, we started dating in person. And eventually when my son was probably 5, my husband met him. It was so cute because my kid would always refer to him as his full name all the time. Unfortunately, very shortly after, my husband was integrating with the family and everything, literally it was not even a month after, cops knocked on my door. I found out that there were tons of warrants out for my kid's dad's arrest. I ended up investigating more. I found so many warrants. Obviously, at that point, I had gathered that he had relapsed. I got emergency custody as soon as possible, and that's when things got really messy. But it's also where my husband shines. That sounded so corny, but it is. So my son's father had no issue with the fact that I was trans. Like I said, I was transitioning since my son was very young. However, he felt desperate, his life was falling apart. He was not sober. I don't think he was employed. Like, he was facing jail time. So, in a desperate cry for anything, he partnered up with a local church, obviously one that was anti-LGBT, and he decided his stance would be that because, my husband and I, we're trans men and we're technically gay, that he was going to use that to try to get custody because, we were, horribly influencing our son by our lifestyle, I didn't know what to do because, I was a single parent. Like, I was just starting to date my husband, but, like, I was a single parent. Like, I didn't have enough money for a lawyer. I did work, but it just wasn't enough. My husband, he ended up moving here. He secured a position right away. He started working overtime just so he could pay for me to get a great lawyer. Another important message in this is that obviously my ex's ploy was to use the fact that he had a traditional family. They were a heterosexual cis family that looked normal, I guess. And he was trying to use that as like they were more fit parents because they fit the mold better. Well, our court date came and he didn't show up because he OD'd and he passed away. So I think that says a lot, because my husband and I, we were busting our asses making sure that our kid had everything he needed. We were both sober. So obviously traditional doesn't always win. Since then and beyond, my husband has just been an amazing father. My son does call him dad. It did take him a little bit. Nobody forced it on him. I would never do that. Well, actually, I should correct myself. My son addresses everybody, including me, by our first names. But he does say, like, this is my mom, MJ, and this is my dad, Eli, I never knew what it was like, to have a partner that showed up for everything. I never knew what that was like. My son's father used to try to degrade me by saying, you're not a single mom, you're just single. But the reality is my husband, he has showed up at every meeting. Never missed a school meeting for my son. Showed up to almost every appointment like he can. Like, he is at almost every single appointment. My son's father, he did not show up to any appointment after, we separated. He never went to any meetings. I didn't know what it was like to have a partner like that, who helps like that. It's just so unreal, like, having a partner who puts in just as much as you. Like, I didn't even know that was findable.